Hi, I'm Joan Marlowe, and welcome once again to another episode of Awareness to Action, where we're looking at individuals' journeys to creating their life's purpose and finding their way there. And today, my fellow journey person is Andrea Brundage. And like so many of my guests, I'm very fortunate to say I've had a long time relationship with her. And once again, people keep asking me where I find these people and my guests. And I'm saying I'm just fortunate because I've met these people, collected these people along the way in our world of networking, as we have both been dedicated to our businesses for many, many years. And here we still are talking about it. And we have been together to look at our successes and our times where we had to go back and restart and have lots and lots of discussions about it. So I'm very, very pleased to have Andrea here with me today. So let me tell you a little bit about Andrea. So let me tell you a little about what we're going to talk about today. And let me circle it back to one of the things that we learned last year, one of the things that happened to a lot of us as we spent time at home. We looked around and we said, we have too much stuff. Did you hear that at all, Andrea?
A few times, yes.
Yeah, a few times. So last year was booming business for her, and moving into this year is booming business for her because people did a lot of reflecting and looking and said, how am I going to fill my time, first of all? But then they also dug in and found some of the good parts and the bad parts of trying to declutter. So Andrea Brundage is a professional organizer, and what she calls herself is being a bringer of calm. Andrea says, and I quote, "Helping clients create supportive spaces is my gift and my passion," end quote. Andrea's been organizing and streamlining homes and corporate offices for 15 plus years. As an expert organizer, published author, speaker, and workshop facilitator, she has appeared on numerous television programs, and her interviews and quotes are often found in notable publications. Turning chaos into calm is Andrea's superpower. And that is oh so true. Andrea has authored 2 books, Simplify, 8 Simple Principles to Turn Your Chaos into Calm, and The Organizing Estate, which is a planning booklet to help you organize literally your estate. And we're going to be spending a lot of time talking about that book, Simplify, because in and of itself, it is a simplified manner to look at this big picture of what we look at as far as our junk drawers and our things that we look at and we say, oh, manana, 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 we put it aside. And then the time comes where we say, we've got to make some moves, we've got to make some change. And last year really helped us do that as we had all this time on our hands. So as always, I love to start the shows by providing some operational definitions so that we're all on the same page. Because when we talk about clutter, we each have a different tolerance level of what clutter is and what our picture is. And then we have also our self-talk that goes along with, I was just born messy, and all of those things. So we're going to talk about that as well. So provide some definition as far as, when you talk about clutter, or when you talk about chaos to calm, what does that actually mean?
Well, thanks first of all, Joan, for inviting me to share this platform with you and share the message that we actually can control some things in our environment and make our lives a lot simpler and a lot more peaceful. And that requires action. So I'm so excited to be a part of this. So back to the question, everyone's got a different, as you said, everyone has a different tolerance level for clutter. So the accumulation of things that have no value or less perceived value than we would like is clutter. And that can also take a lot of different forms. So it can be the physical manifestation of what I call delayed decision disorder, which is piles and piles and piles of things that are simply delayed decisions. That's all they are. It can also, we can clutter up our calendar, can't we? We can have so many things on that calendar that we don't have any time for ourselves. That's clutter, in my opinion. It does not necessarily serve us well. And then we can also have an opportunity to release some clutter of perhaps people that don't fill us up anymore. This cup is one that takes from us always instead of refilling and having a mutual exchange. So clutter can look like all kinds of things. The goal is to be mindful about what we allow and who we allow in our space.
Wow. I mean, stick with me on this journey, folks. I mean, Andrea just covered so many different points, and it might also provide a different perspective to what you think about clutter. And as you know, with other guests, we've talked about people that bring us down and that steal our energy from us. We call them energy vampires or whatever else. And we also know that everything is made of energy. So when we translate what you just shared about a full calendar, that's all energy, because you're thinking about it. Even though it's written down, you're still thinking about it. And then you're thinking about the piles that are around you. And then that's my Cali cat. Whoa, she's wound up today. Excuse that. So talk about being live. Here we are. So again, we're looking at people that can also pull us from that, pull our energy from us and clutter us up to again, hurt us in decision making, hurt us in being able to move forward in the things that we need to do to live our life purpose, to create our best lives, and so on and so forth. So that was really amazing. Which brings us to our next question, or a statement, I guess, is, can you share a little bit about the relationship between clutter and stress?
Absolutely. So I like to provide a moment here for people to actually think through and feel through this process. And so one of the things I like to say to people is, imagine that place that you walk into and you feel so peaceful and so welcomed and so at home. A lot of times it's a hotel lobby where what you have ahead of you is a vacation, but you walk into this massive space that has beautiful things and very elegantly and usually very tastefully decorated, and you just feel calm and you just feel like this is a place I want to be. Contrast that to walking into a place where you instinctually feel like, I just want to turn around and get out of here. Mm-hmm. There's an energy difference between those two places. And the difference very often is the things that are within those spaces. So if you feel when you walk over the threshold of your home that I'm calm, I'm safe, this is the place I want to be, wonderful. If you walk over the threshold and feel like, I'd rather be at work, I'm going to go shopping somewhere, anywhere other than here, then your space is not supporting you.
That's a lot to take in. Talk about the aha moments in that explanation.
Well, the energy that you feel actually creates stress on you. So to get back to your original question, that's where the stress lies. And if the stress is wrapped up in all this stuff that you have around you, guess what? You have control over that. Mm-hmm. You cannot control all things in your life, but there are certain things that you can control. And being very mindful and intentional about what you allow in your space and how it feels when you walk in very often is within your control. Mm-hmm. We give a lot of power to our things. So if we are walking into our home and we don't feel welcomed and we don't feel safe, then our stuff owns us and we don't own it. We have to flip that back around and take back ownership of, what do we allow in our space? Why is it here? Does it support me? Does it support our family?
And again, all of those are amazing, notable things to think about. And bringing in the element of mindfulness and bringing in the moment of also being mindful and being not multitasking and not like swerving around your piles of stuff or whatever else that you're ignoring, because that's impacting you every time you have to walk around that or walk over it or look at it. And then you go, and that's more negativity for your body. That's another hit for your body that you don't want to have happen. So we're getting close to a break, but before we go to break, just share a little bit about the benefits of a simplified life.
Well, I believe a more simplified life provides peace. It provides an opportunity to save money, which I'm happy to expound on a little bit. And it also saves you time. Now, which one of those don't you want in your life? These are all things that we crave.
You better believe it. And in so many cases, we think we have to have one over the other. But in tackling what you're describing right now, that could give you all of those positives by simply tackling this clutter that you have. Right, the stuff that we have in our life, things that we have our stories about, and so on and so forth. And the stories aren't going to go away. And do you still need that stuff? That becomes the question. You know, the thing that is, so when we come back from break, we're going to talk a little bit about, you know, how and where we get started with all of this. But in again, showing a little bit, this is Andrea's book called Simplify. And even looking at and this book, as she says, it's an actionable book. It's a workbook. It's not a book that you sit and you sit on your sofa and you read it. It's not that at all. So everything that she just shared plays out in here. So it provides you an opportunity to like have that question or that statement, and then you reflect upon it. And what does the meaning mean for you? Because like I said earlier, each one of us has our own interpretation for everything that we do. But my hope against hope is that, as Andrea is telling me here, I'm like very early in the book, organization is a teachable skill. I'm here, teacher. Please teach me. So on that note, let's go on a break. We're going to come on back, and then we're going to talk about how and where we get started with this, and talking about a lot of other things. We're going to touch upon the P's and Q's related to the magic that's attached to them. We'll be right back. Hi, and welcome back to Awareness to Action. I'm Joan Marlowe, and my guest is Andrea Brundage, and her business is called Simple Organized Solution, also known as SOS. And as we evolve in this conversation today, you might have the need to scream SOS because you're going to need help when she fully explains how her magic unfolds and what she actually does to help us, and all the benefits that we can seek when we decide to tackle our stuff. She and I are both Virgos, but she got the organization part of the Virgo. I didn't get that. So I am still a student. It will probably be for a long time, but I so appreciate her in so many ways. So tell us, how and where do we get started? I mean, here we go. Here's our first lesson. Provide us awareness, and now get us to the point of giving us actionable steps to make it happen.
Okay. So I always like to say there are dreamers and there are doers. And if we're gonna tackle our stuff, we have to move from a dreamer of, gee, it'd be great if my life was more organized, to a doer. And so we have to follow the dream with action to make sure that we are moving out of the current situation and moving into what we desire. How do we get started? Well, we need to identify what our goals are. This is so basic. This is, the whole SMART goal idea. What are your goals? Just spend some time thinking about it. If we say we want to organize our home, it's too big. Yes, that can be the overreaching goal, but how about let's start with a smaller project, just like building a house. We want to take little pieces at a time so they build on each other, and then support your goal, which is to have a more simplified life. The most important thing to consider is how much time do you have that you're willing to allocate, because we don't spend time, we don't save time, we don't budget time, we allocate time. How much time are you willing to allocate to project A? Let's say you have 15 minutes available. What can you tackle in 15 minutes? It might be a junk drawer.
Mhm.
At this juncture, a lot of people say, oh, but you haven't seen my junk drawer. Very true, very true. But what is it that you can start and finish in 15 minutes? Because that's all the time you're willing to allocate to it. This is not the time to start the master closet, which frankly can take 8 to 16 hours, depending on how much we have to deal with. So time appropriate tasks is what I call this. So if you are willing to allocate an hour or 2 hours, that will determine what project you want to start with. How do you start? It's that old saying, like mom used to say, you start in the corner and you work your way out. Start somewhere and work your way out of that room or that area. If you don't have much time, maybe you just start with the top shelf and work your way down to the bottom shelf. So, being gentle with yourself, but also keeping in mind that we want to get through projects. We don't want to start, get interrupted, stop, because getting organized creates more of a mess than you had in the beginning.
Yes, because you look around the floor and you said, wow, it doesn't look like I've done anything. So my question that came to mind as you were going through this, and logically it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And in a perfect world, that would be perfect. How do you stay motivated? I refer sometimes to myself as being like a hummingbird. I do this and I go, oh, nope. And I have the intention, it's all there. How do I stay motivated to work on, again, that goal of saying is a top shelf? How do you do that?
There's lots of tricks that you can do. One of them is to, plug in Pandora, listen to your favorite album or CD, and give yourself that time to do it. And when it's over, you tidy up, clean up, and you move on, because you've done what you set out to do. This is not the time to say, gee, I should have gotten further. I don't know what I'm doing. This is not what that's about. But set some goals for yourself. It's just like, when you do a meditation, there's a certain rhythm to it, right? You start slowly, you do some breathing, you actually move into the meditation, and then you slowly come out of it. That is a time-generated activity. So you can create a time-generated activity with your projects. Maybe you set a timer for a half an hour. Maybe you fold clothes while your favorite television show's on. There are lots of ways that you can kind of contain it and make sure that you're staying on task.
And all of this, as you refer to it as being the meditation process, in the years that I've taught meditation, I often say, you take a class with me and you might learn 15 to 18 ways that you can meditate, because there's a variety of things. And people are amazed at how simple some of those little things are. And I often say, if you find joy in gardening, then gardening can be your meditative moment, and you tell yourself that it's your meditative moment. I never thought of cleaning my closet as being meditation, but that piques my interest. That might help me personally stay on task, because I value that single-mindedness, single-focused, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. And so that would achieve my meditation goal too. I like that.
Absolutely. And you can do it in small chunks. So, if you listen to Deepak Chopra, he will tell you can meditate at a stoplight.
That's right.
You can meditate anywhere. You can actually allocate some of your energy towards, 5 pieces of clothing in your closet that you make decisions on, or 20 pairs of shoes, whatever it is. You actually, it is not an excuse that should keep you from doing what you want, which is simplifying your life.
And that's all of our goals. I mean, for us to have a simpler life and to simplify our lives so that we can live this best life. And again, it falls into that whole health and well-being piece, because it's one of those, it touches a lot of those elements in that well-being circle that looks at where your confidence lies, and it also opens up again that positivity in your brain to say that I've accomplished something. And then you get a level of pride that you might, and that might have been a level of scorn for so long, you hang your head because you were failing in your mind, but now you've accomplished something. And I so believe in that kind of a reward. And I think the process you're describing is certainly falling in line with that.
Well, and it's really important to recognize that we don't want to exchange the stress of the clutter with the stress of perfection. If perfection is the goal, don't start, because you're not getting anywhere. You're just exchanging one stress for another. So the goal is to find where your happy place is. And that's probably somewhere in the middle of messy to perfect. Find that place. And that's really what we're after. We're not looking at, you know, everything in the pantry needs to be beautifully labeled and all the labels need to stick out, you know, the same way. No, that is stressful. And if you have other people in your home, good luck with that. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. But can you make it better than it is? Most likely.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, those are amazing pearly words of wisdom to go away from this conversation with, and to actually apply it to so many other parts of the who and what we are. So that's really great. So anything else about the whole getting started? We talked about how we stay motivated. Anything else before we move to another topic?
No, I just encourage, you know, dreamers and doers. If we're going to get where we want to go, we got to get in the doer mode. So we have to follow this with action.
Well, and that's usually what the issue is, because it's how do you launch? How do you take this grand idea and make it happen? And again, it's all for you. It's not for others or whatever. So and again, what you said, what brings you your happiness? What brings you your joy? And that's vitally important as well. So, and before we head off to a break again, can we talk a little bit, at least start talking about the magic of knowing your P's and Q's, which are our actionable items. So tell us a little bit about what the P's and Q's are, and then we'll get into them.
Okay, so the Q's come before the P's in this case.
Okay, the Q's and P's, all right.
Yeah, the Q's and P's, but I like P's and Q's because people recognize that.
That's right.
All right, I'm going to share with you four simple questions that you can ask yourself to make decisions about what stays and what goes in your life. Number one, do I love it? And I really emphasize the word love here, and you probably heard that. If it were in a neon sign, it would be flashing. Do I love this? This is whatever it is. Is it a handbag? Is it volunteering for this organization? What is it? Do I love it? Number two, do I use it or do I wear it? Think about that. We have lots of things that we have in our space that we never use and we never wear. Number three, does it serve me well? Does this thing, whatever it is, does it serve me well? And number four is, could it serve someone else better? This is the magic that allows you and gives you permission to release. And a lot of people say, get rid of. That has a negative connotation to me. If we can just talk about releasing and passing on things to other people, it makes us feel better inside. So find those places and organizations and people and nonprofits that could benefit from these things that don't serve you well anymore. You don't love it, you don't use it, and you don't wear it. that means it's not serving you well. Somebody else, though, needs that. So let's be part of the solution. So those are the cues. Very simple.
That's so in talking and thinking about that a little bit more, looking at the story behind whatever that piece of article is, how do you remedy that? You tell the story about whatever it is and you go, that was a really good time in my life. You put it back in your closet. Or there might come a time again, I use that purse, or
Absolutely. And those are the positive conversations. But I will challenge you that most of the conversations around things in the closets are not positive.
Oh, okay.
They are things like, gee, when I lose 10 pounds, or I used to be able to wear that, or I feel guilty because I spent so much money on that. It was a good deal. So now we're wrapped up in the money spent. The money is never coming back unless you happen to want to spend the time selling things outright. But what's the value? And so I like to use the example when we're talking about clothes. Say you have this beautiful blouse that you found on clearance, and it's a designer blouse, and it's beautiful, and it's yellow, and you don't look good in yellow, and you know you don't look good in yellow, and you will never look good in yellow.
But I saved $50.
Exactly. And so I bought 2 of them. So that one in yellow and one in orange, which doesn't look good either. But very often we have this value set on that because, gosh, we spent money on that. The bottom line is you don't look good in yellow, and you're never going to look good in yellow. So guess what?
Old hard truth. Oh,
I know. Guess what, though? Somebody out there looks fabulous in yellow and would really benefit from having that beautiful deal that you found. So, getting really clear about what do your clothes say to you? And if you think you have a hard time making decisions, put on those clothes and they're going to start talking to you. Put on those shoes that you love that are now a little too tight, or they rub right there on that spot on your toe. They will tell you why you don't wear them.
Oh promise. My God. Oh, that's too funny. That is too funny. Well, let's take on those notes, let's take a break and let's think about those yellow blouses that we have and whatever that we probably, or those tight shoes that we go, my feet aren't going to lose the 10 pounds. So that's not going to happen. So let's take a quick break. We'll come on back. Thank you. Hi, and welcome back. And I'm Joan Marlowe and Andrea Brundage, our professional organizers with us. And I'm still noodling through all of those colors and which yellow works for me, and the money that I saved because I got a bargain. And I'm not a big shopper. I don't even like shopping. So I'm a blue shirt shopper. But however, that blue shirt might not have been perfect, but I needed a quote unquote blue shirt, got it home, never wore it. Okay. That's the who I am. Yeah. So I've got some readjusting to make in my brain here with the help of Andrea, giving me some of these cues and these questions that I really, really need to ask myself. And the other thing that's so interesting now, my big question that I'm asking myself is, after a year of being in the house in the pandemic and now looking at my closet, I'm going, well, I didn't wear it all last year, but then again, all I wore were yoga pants last year. So do I now keep this, or because I already made the break, is it now time to move them on the road and start anew? So what do you have to say about that?
Well, and all of us are in that same boat.
Yeah.
Well, probably not all of us, but many of us are in the same boat. So no, give yourself some grace. Last year is kind of a write-off. you know, and if things get back to normal, whatever that looks like, and you start going out and you find that, oh, well, I didn't wear that because I didn't have an opportunity last year. So no, this is not the time really. Now, if it's been in there for 10 years, that's a different story.
Oh, you have been in my house. Yeah. But I
Well,
don't allow you in my closet.
but 10 years isn't really the deciding factor either. The deciding factor is, do I love it and do I wear it?
Yep.
That's the deciding factor. I don't care how old it is. I don't care. That doesn't matter to me. But the idea of being really purposeful, which is going to take us into the 4 Ps. So we need to go back and revisit that. The 4 Ps is persistent, purposeful purging, and the placement of all that remains. So a lot of times we think, oh, I'm going to get organized and it's one and done. No, this is not how life is. You will have many opportunities to continue down the road of letting go and releasing. There's holidays that come, there are shifts in our life, we come into different stations in our life. So really getting clear that you will have a lot of opportunities to revisit this idea of letting things go.
And that's really true. What are the 4 Ps again?
Persistent, purposeful, purging, and the placement of all that remains. So once that you've purged, everything that you've kept needs to have a home. And that's really when we know that we are getting really good at this process.
Yes. And everything needs to have a home. That's essential.
Everything needs a home.
And that doesn't
Absolutely.
include a pile.
It doesn't include a pile. It doesn't include, I'm going to put it out in the garage in a box marked miscellaneous. And it does not include storage units. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. I don't hold back on my, I don't hold back on my honesty. Use that money to do something else that's more important than storing a bunch of stuff that you don't love enough to keep in your space.
No, I love it. I love it.
Set up a travel fund. Give it to a nonprofit. Paying storage unit and for ongoing, if it's a transitional time, sure. I mean, we have to do that sometimes. But if it's just a normal bill, no, we got to get through that stuff.
Yeah. Well, we do. And again, the conversation, having been an East Coaster and coming to Arizona where we don't have attics, we don't have basements. And everyone, I'm an outlier because I don't have a storage unit. I mean, it happens. It comes with the territory when you live in Arizona. You have a storage unit, and I chuckle about it. But again, people need to hear what you just said related to that, because it would give them more thought about how they're really using that space and what else to do with that money. That's vitally important.
Absolutely. I had a gal speak up during a conference I was giving, and she shared with me that both of her parents died within a very short time of each other. And she and her brothers just could not figure out what to do to get through all of those things. It was just too much, too fast. And so they rented a storage unit and just put everything into storage. And 14 years later, and tens of thousands of dollars later, they finally decided this is silly. So all of those things sat in storage for all those years, and the money was gone.
That's a big aha.
They could have taken a family vacation. All 3 of them could have gone and enjoyed time. Because gosh, what are we so limited on but time? That's it.
That's oh so true. True. So since you just brought up that whole idea about, losing your parents or your grandparents or whatever else, and another thing that I'm hearing quite often with friends and associates is the fact that they now have pieces that they had from their grandmothers or from their mothers. And what they're hearing from their children is that their children don't want that. What do you recommend to people that are between that rock and hard place and where their heart is? And
Mhm.
what are some things you recommend?
Well, for sure, you need to have a thick skin when you approach your children about, gee, wouldn't you like to have my wedding dress? And the kids are going to say no 9 times out of 10, or maybe 99 times out of 100. They don't want all this stuff. They've been raised in a disposable society.
Mhm,
And guess what? They have their own stuff. They
mhm,
have their own stuff, and they're not as attached to grandma's china as grandma was, or
mhm,
as you are, perhaps. If it doesn't serve you well, it's got to go away. And again, finding those places where it can be repurposed. So I should have worn it actually so I could show it to you. But I have a necklace that was a gift that was actually made out of a china plate,
mhm,
and the jeweler, the artisan, punched out the design from that china plate, and she made a beautiful necklace that was wrapped in silver.
mhm.
Now, there's a way that you can pass on grandma's china in other ways rather than burdening somebody with a box of stuff they're never going to use.
Mhm, mhm.
And I just want to challenge you, if you love grandma's china, pull it out and use it.
That's right. Because then there's that attitude about this is special and we only use it on
Yes.
special occasions. And that's how we were all
Yes.
brought up. I mean, it's just special.
Right.
And then the special, again, there's that time element and what made it so special. So but it's true to think outside the box and to think about creative ways of doing it. And
Literally outside the box.
literally outside the box, and the box
Right.
the box needs to go as well. Yeah, yeah.
Recycle.
That's one of the goals, is get rid of the box. So
Right.
so yeah, that's essential for us as well. So let's circle back a little bit and let's talk about the book. And you are just exuding in the passion and your purpose in this. So what first of all, what got you so geared up? How does one choose to wake up and say, I want to be a professional organizer? I
Oh.
could say I choose it, and then you look at my closet, but in my files, how I work with my office.
So, I'm wired to be organized. People like me are party planners, we're project managers, we're professional organizers. A lot of people like me like to do accounting because there's routine and there's streamlining. And I think the gift for me is being able to see the end before I begin. I think
Ooh.
I think that is the biggest gift of being in this profession, and it's so well suited to me. So I got into it because I had a corporate career that was long and arduous and boring. So it was not always boring. It was exciting in the early days when I could make an impact. So I'd go into an accounting position and I'd clean up the mess and streamline and set up policies and procedures and get everybody trained. And then I'm bored to death.
Mhm.
This is where life would be normally coasting, and I'm bored. I'm not making an impact every day like I like to make. So I had done this numerous times, and finally I decided, gosh, there's a business here. There's a business here. I can actually help people, particularly business owners, get their operations in order, get things streamlined, get things caught up, and then I can move on and make an impact for somebody else. And that's how I started my business.
Wow.
Originally, it was going to be corporate clients only. And then I came to realize, no, what I offer is a process, and it works across all lines. So from homeowners to business owners and also people who are downsizing.
Wow. 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 So, and I've forgotten about all those pieces and parts of who we are, but what I'm really gleaning from this conversation, and hopefully our listeners are gleaning it as well, is again, once again, it seems to be all of my guests talk about process And now you touched upon it as well. But it's also the reflecting and looking at, and it's not giving you that sense of purpose. Let it go and find something else.
Yeah.
So let's take a quick break and come on back. We'll talk a little bit more about where people can find you, where they can find your book, and we'll go from there.
Fabulous.
And welcome back to Awareness to Action, where my guest, Andrea Brundage, has been sharing these nuggets of knowledge and these nuggets of awareness that are then going to push you to action, which brings us up again to talk about her book, which again is Simplify Your Life, 8 Simple Principles to Turn Chaos to Calm. So Andrea, talk a little bit about the book. Where can you find it? Talk about whatever you want.
Sure. So I love this book, and it was created out of necessity because I do a lot of workshops and I give a lot of information as the listeners have experienced so far. And I wanted a tool that people could take home with them. And I felt I was leaving my listeners and my audiences short. So I wrote this book to move people from awareness into action, back into awareness. Absolutely. And I'd love to point out that this image on the front is actually a photograph that I took. And I love this photograph. And what I didn't know until after the book was published, that this is the golden ratio. And if you don't know what the golden ratio is,
sacred geometry. Yeah.
It is. And it's all about balance. Mm-hmm. It's all about balance. And that's what simplifying your life will do. And you can see the attraction. I mean, why are we attracted to these things? Because they're balanced. So yes, my website has the book, which I believe will be in the credits at the end. And also Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You can get Kindle, you can get Apple Books. So I want it available to anyone and everyone.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So please give your website address, and let's talk a little bit about your Facebook group also, because I was going to invite people to go to your Facebook page, because there they get to see before and afters, which are remarkable. And so you get the proof of the pudding in real time.
So I'll talk first about the closed Facebook group that I created to go along with the book, and it's called SOS Clutter Disruptors. So we want to disrupt that clutter and get rid of it. And I wanted to provide a platform for people to feel supported. So if they were having issues, they could put it out there. Help, I'm stuck in my closet. I don't know what to do. Or I'm buried in paperwork. I don't know what to do. And also, it's an opportunity to brag a little bit. Show us what you've done. Do some before and afters. And so it's open conversation, and it's a safe environment because there is very often shame around clutter. Mm-hmm. There's emotional baggage around clutter. So it's a safe place. So again, that's Facebook, and it's a closed group called SOS Clutter Disruptors. My website is full of lots of how-to videos and before and after photos, and you can reach out and do a 20-minute consult with me, complimentary, and you'll find that at www.professionalorganizeraz.com. Of course, you can always reach me by phone, 480-382-1085.
I'm going to have you on speed dial more than I typically have you on speed dial now. Now you got the gears moving. Now the gears are really moving.
I'm here for you. I want to offer hope. There is hope.
Well, yeah. And again, as we get close to a wrap up, let's talk about that hope. What might that look like?
You know, it's those little steps forward, those little steps of letting go of things that no longer serve us well, and staying on task with that consistency will get us to where we want to be. And yes, we will be revisiting. We will have more opportunities to organize and purge, but we have to get moving. If we don't move, what happens? If we're on a bike going down the road and we stop and we don't put our feet out, what happens? We tip over. So constant movement, even if it's small, is impactful, and it will feed the hope.
That's true. I mean, that's true. The chip, 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 chip away. And to also go back and notice how far you've come.
Absolutely.
Again, reward yourself. So again, it's, you know, those 5 A's fall into play again. You've got your awareness. We've got tons of action items here, but we're also looking at acknowledging the fact of what finally got you moving forward to say, this is what I need to do. And now we've got all these tips and tools. And again, even in utilizing your book can really give you the pieces and parts that you need to say, this time it's going to be different because I'm not out here alone. And so many of us, that's what we need. And with your supportive Facebook group, your closed group with Facebook, I mean, that's because the other issue is, once you straighten something out, how long does it stay straightened out? Because those little gremlins come in at night and they mess things up. And they're uninvited guests, and I don't get that.
Like with you know, getting fit or losing weight, maintenance is critical. We don't get organized and stay organized. So one of the quotes in my book is organized is a lifestyle. And that's exactly what it is. And yeah, please celebrate the smallest things that you can, because they will create, I don't know, momentum, keep you inspired. Make sure that you take time to say, good job, good job.
And it's true. And I mean, even again, looking at the 5 A's, and we look at the word authenticity, in looking at those before and after pictures and really embracing those after pictures to say, yeah, I did that. I've been this way forever, but I am just really reveling in whatever that space is. And even when you need more of that momentum to keep moving forward, you can go back and look at what you did accomplish and say, if I did it once, I can do it again. And it's that constancy of purpose, and doing those little steps at a time are very important versus taking on huge projects. And don't start with a huge project, I venture to say. And again, you want to do all the pre-thinking, the pre-thought beforehand.
And don't let that paralyze you. There is no reason not to start, other than you're just getting in your own way. And this is where we're talking about authenticity. I'm very honest about what it takes to get it done. And one of the things is get to work. Get to work. There's support here for you. So if you can't do it on your own, there are lots of people like me who can help guide you through this process.
Yeah. Can you help people at a distance?
Yes, I do. I have virtual coaching programs.
Okay.
And I also help professional organizers who are new in the business and wanting to get themselves set up for success. I've been doing this since 2003. So I don't think there's anything that would scare me that I haven't maybe seen. I'm always willing to learn more, but you know, I've been doing it a long time, and I'd happily shorten that learning curve for people who want to do it.
And again, that comes back to the whole thing where, again, there's been many of my guests so far in our conversations, we talk about the sense of community, and we talk about the sense of finding like-minded people and finding those positive people that are also here to assist you along the way, that you can count on, you can fall back on or ask. There's no such thing as a dumb question in any of these arenas. And what you said also is, this really is a lifestyle. This is no different than doing a diet or eating a certain way or sticking to an exercise program. It's just another piece of it. But when you think about the before and the after of what your life was, when you take yourself out of that clutter and you feel that sense of clearing energy, that's huge too. And again, it's stopping long enough to look at that and to see what the impact is, and for you to say, this is really making sense to me now.
And in addition, we can add to that people in recovery. So we can recover from these things that have been so heavy on us. We can recover. What does it take? It takes a commitment, and it takes maintenance, and it takes a constant reminder that, yeah, look how far I've come.
Yep.
I don't do that anymore. Remember, I don't do that anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
Well, it is. It definitely is. So, coming up with whether it be a scent that you breathe in before you tackle something, or a sound or a song or whatever, and it could be a word. But I don't even know where to begin to say thank you, Andrea. This has
Oh,
been amazing. And I've heard you speak many times, of course, and we've worked together closely, and even looking at, the stumble blocks and whatever that we face in our businesses. And this has been a real joy. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And I look forward to our listeners enjoying this just as much. So once again, can you share your website address?
sure. It's www.professionalorganizeraz.com.
And again, the giveaway is for the 8th caller that calls into Transformation Talk Radio, you will be receiving one of her books. And again, it's the 8th caller for those 8 simple rules, as well as she's for the 22nd caller, because 22 is her favorite number. She's also going to be providing a 30-minute coaching call. So please take that to heart and move forward. And that phone number, calling into TTR to make that happen. Thank you so much. Namaste, as always. It's always a
Thank you.
pleasure working with you, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Joan. My pleasure.
Thank you for joining this Awareness to Action episode. Join me next time for more inspiring stories that will shift your perspective and allow you to see pathways toward a more fulfilling life. It doesn't come overnight, but with a positive outlook and a will to keep moving forward, you will get there, and it will be worth every twist and turn along the way. A willingness to learn from this experience is key. If plan A doesn't work, remember, you have plans B through Z to continue your journey. With each adjustment, you're one step closer to turning a possibility into a reality. For more information about me, or to work with me personally, visit peacefullyhealing.com.